Hello and welcome to Healthy Talks. Today we are with Waseemah, who is an urologist and also the founder and CEO of True Roots Online. Hi Waseemah, how are you today?
Hi, Julie. I'm well, thank you. It's rather cold here in Cape Town, but we push through. We leave our house, we leave our kids, we leave our husbands, and we just do what we need to do. But I'm okay. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit with us today. I really hope that
Absolutely.
we can bring some awareness to True Roots and also the ins and outs of urology.
It's actually iridology. But we
Thank
can
you.
use no, that's no problem.
Thank you. Can you describe the specific health challenges that inspired you to create vegan and diabetic friendly products in your business?
Sure. Look, that's actually something that I get asked quite often because people think that I'm directing my products at one specific target market, but that's not the case. In the sense of diabetes, which is found, worldwide, I just believe that if one can cause a balance in the body, everything else will fall into place. So people with diabetes struggle with glucose levels, right? So I told myself, what can we use? What can I create as a snack? Because we snack a lot, especially
Mm,
here in Cape Town. We love our snacking while we're watching Netflix or while we're
yes,
binge watching. I don't know what we're watching nowadays. What can we snack on that is nutritious but also healthy? But at the same time, it can be for people that have issues like diabetes or people that are vegan, for
mm,
example, right? So something that can balance the glucose. Balancing of the glucose, there's so many long-term effects to it, such as appetite control, reducing the weight sometimes, good sleep, and most importantly, balancing our hormones at the same time. So just the overall idea of creating homeostasis, for everyone, that
yes.
basically inspired me. Yeah, that basically inspired me. And if you don't know what homeostasis is, it's basically just being able to adapt in almost any environment. So your body, physically, emotionally, spiritually, medically, whatever you want to call it, being able to adapt in different environments. I think that's like the ultimate health goal anybody wants to reach. So that's basically what inspired me with creating certain goodies, health products that's edible. Yeah.
And how have your personal health experience influenced your approach to alternative medicine and treatments?
That's an excellent question. A couple of years back, I can't even remember what it was called because I remember going to two GPs and they
Mm,
were kind of struggling to diagnose what I actually had. But knowing and having the experience and being qualified now, I can tell you it was just a severe eczema outbreak. Literally from my neck to my ankles, just picture red, itchy,
oof.
scaly, bloody skin, and I was literally bedridden for 3 months straight. And I was like, no, man. And I remember at the time I wasn't able to afford, I didn't have medical aid, no healthcare,
Mm,
nothing like that. I was like, what am I going to do? I started doing research, understanding the body a little bit and what is actually happening, the symptoms, whatever. So I started implementing certain eating plans,
yes.
eliminating gluten, sugar, dairy, even certain fruits and vegetables were eliminated as well. I mean, people think, oh no, we should just be eating fruit and veg. It doesn't work like that. The body is very technical. It can get very technical. I promise you, a month later, my body was healing naturally. I lost a bit of weight, yes, but
Yes.
my body was healing. It's only about a month and a half into it that I saw a dermatologist and she prescribed a certain topical creams that basically just sped up the process. 3 months later, or almost 3 months later, I was completely cured. My system crashed. It was stress, it was the way I was eating, its toxicity on its own. Ever since then, I told myself I never want to experience something like that again. And
Mm.
that's when everything started. Yeah, it was a good thing.
And then with that nutritional background and having gone through your own experience, you've also integrated fitness programs for your clients. Can you tell me how that you incorporate those two together?
Oh, yeah. So, look, again, coming back to homeostasis, I believe that a balanced lifestyle involves a bit of everything. I do not believe in diets unless you are clinically diagnosed with something where you have to be on a diet.
Mm,
A little bit of nutrition that is implemented, eat well. exercise, move the body. Mobility is basically, directly proportional to your central nervous system. If I see someone come in and they can't perform a proper squat, for example, or their hips are a little bit tight, it tells me about their nervous system. It tells me about their mental health. There's a lot of things I look at when patients come in and diagnose. It's just, yeah, it's crazy. But coming back to your question, fitness plays a big role in health, and nutrition does that as well. My main thing, however, is mental health. So there's a lot of aspects I look at when
Mm.
patients come in. And I believe that there's certain exercises that you need to perform. So, for example, if you have IBS, right, or if you have infertility, there's certain exercises that cannot be performed. It might worsen symptoms. If you maybe have a respiratory issue, you can't be running marathons or be doing high intensity training. So when patients come in, there's a lot of things that I consider first before I actually write up a plan for them. That it has to go with their lifestyle, it has to go with what is medically present, or the medical history, things like that I consider. There's a lot of things I consider. I think it's actually very detailed when you come to me. A lot of things I consider, yeah. So fitness, eating, it all intertwines with one
Mm.
another.
It
Yeah.
definitely does. And what are some of the common health conditions you have encountered, and how do you develop sustainable nutrition and exercise plans for these patients?
Okay, so I've come to a point where I realize that if you don't have one of these, it's probably something wrong with you. So a lot of clients or patients who come in that either have hypertension, they'll have
Mm.
cholesterol issues, infertility, or diabetes. I promise you, it's probably one of them. But here's something that you as well. If you have one, you probably have the other. If you have one, you're probably predisposed to the next one as well. So
Yes.
when you come in with the other diagnosis that I perform on them, I'm able to tell them what they are predisposed to, what ailments, what diseases they are predisposed to. With that knowledge, I create something that is going to either prevent that from happening or lessen the symptoms that can come with it. For example, if you come in, Julian, you tell me, you have high blood pressure, for example.
Yes.
And I'll be like, very well, this is what we need to do. I do the either diagnosis. I tell you, listen, your organs, certain maybe lungs maybe is a bit affected, or your kidneys or your liver. And then obviously I'll tell you now this is what we need to do to avoid cholesterol, or this is what we need to avoid ulcerations in the colons, for example. Or you tell me, oh, Waseemah, I have IBS, for example. Okay,
Mm.
to avoid ulcerations, to avoid cancer, to avoid whatever the case may be. That is what I basically do when it comes to that. So it's great, man. It's nice to be able to help patients and successfully help them in a natural way. That's why they come at the end of the day to me. But it's so common: cholesterol, diabetes, hypertension. It's almost as if you don't have one of those, there's something wrong with you, unfortunately.
That's very
Yeah.
common.
Yeah.
It's very common to have. That's definitely true. And can you explain iridology and its role
Yeah.
and its role in your
Sure.
practice?
Sure. So pharmacology is alternative medicine, right? What it entails is basically the study of the iris, so the color part of the eye. With that, a trained iridologist is able to look at certain biometrics in the eye and diagnose to a non-invasive diagnosis of the patient's systemic health. So we are
Hmm.
able to tell you, yeah, so we're able to tell you, what is currently happening from a medical point of view, what's currently happening in your body right now, what has maybe happened, and what you are predisposed to. It's very
Okay.
important that patients that do come in understand that iridologists do not foresee diseases or anything like that, but we are telling you what you are vulnerable to, what you are predisposed to, because there's a lot of things we take into consideration. We look at inherited weaknesses, we look at your medical background, we look at your mental health state. It's called animation of life. There's a lot of things we consider, and that is why it's such an intense session. It's usually 45 minutes first time patients, and that is basically what iridology is all about. It's a non-invasive way of
Okay.
determining the patient's systemic health, their health status, yeah, and what can be done afterwards if you are treating accordingly. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. And what
Mhm.
are some of the common the misconceptions that you get from when you explain this to clients? How do you explain the difference between the emotional in relation to the physical health?
Okay, so I'm a sole believer in mental health. If there's anything that I stand by, it is mental health. Mental health awareness for so many years has been shunned down. And, there's a lot of study and articles and everything you can find on Google how our mental health, it starts manifesting physically when we reach a point that we cannot
Mm-hmm.
handle it anymore. Some people will just block out whatever's happening and then we wonder why are we getting anxiety? Why are we experiencing insomnia? Why are we having digestive issues? Why all of a sudden do we have fertility issues, especially with women? It's become so common. We patients would come in, women, and they're trying to fall pregnant or their menstrual cycles are irregular. And
Mm.
when I perform an IRA diagnosis, I will tell them, but your reproductive core system looks perfectly fine. But then the animation of life, which is the mental health area, so to say, is a little bit distorted. And then we start working on it. And then I feel like I'm having a psychology session in the morning. And end up so much more relieved, so much more lighthearted, or like someone listened to them, someone understood them, and obviously we would go on certain natural remedies to treat that accordingly. But
Mm.
mental health, if someone asks me what can they do to improve on themselves, I would say look after yourself. And when I say
Yes.
that, I mean look after your mind, look after your heart. As weird and as crazy as that sounds, it manifests, right? There's people that are perfectly healthy immediately. Their blood test comes out, everything's fine, myself included. Blood tests are perfectly fine, ECG scans are perfectly fine. But then the person is actually suffering from clinical depression. So mental health is the key to, I would say, the
Mm.
key to a wholesome, holistic life. Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a
Especially in
relationship.
this days, though. Especially in
Yeah,
these
yeah.
days, like mental health is so important.
Yes, with social media, there's nothing wrong with social media. There's so many perks to it, but I believe that a lot of people are influenced subconsciously by what they see and they belittle themselves. They feel like they're not good enough. They have this, oh, I have to meet certain expectations. I have to do this, I have to do that. And then they're crashing when no one's looking. They're crashing. They
Mm.
can't handle, and then they come to you, for example, or any practitioner for that matter, and then you find out that they're perfectly healthy human beings. It's just much more going on. And in iridology, I believe it's essential to know your patients through and through in order to create any sort of plan for them to move forward,
Mm.
in order to create or give them proper treatment. Understand your patient. Yeah.
And being in alternative medicine, do you encounter any misconceptions and how do you address them?
Oh, I think that is, that is such a it's such a common question. But I know there's a lot of people that subconsciously think about that. They think about how is that going to, what is this? Is this real? Whatever. First and
Yes.
foremost, I would like to ask you this. Ethanol that we find in red wine, for example, is made out of red wine is made out of potatoes, right? So the ethanol that is created from corn is something natural. Too much of ethanol in any form of alcohol, what happens to you? You get drunk,
Causes
right?
headache.
Yeah, so if someone tells me that something natural doesn't affect you, then I'll ask them this. So how does prune juice, a glass of prune juice make your bowels move? Or
Mm.
how does too much of vodka created from potatoes make you, along with the ethanol, whatever is in there, make you drunk? Or how does grapefruit spike or high blood pressure? Things like that. So
Yes.
I will never belittle someone that doesn't understand because we don't understand.
Mm.
Some people don't understand. I usually just brush it off. Most of the time, I just brush it off. Um, but yeah, I think I just brush it off to be honest with you. But if you're asking me what it is, I think it's more than one scientific proof, man.
Yes.
That's what it is. They want the science behind it. And funny enough, I believe and I see that there is lots of articles, a lot of forums, a lot of science-based things on how alternative medicine, such as the TIB products, how it actually works very well with clinical medicine.
Mm.
Yes, I will stand aside when I say that maybe herbal remedies or certain homeopathic remedies one has to be careful with when it comes to clinical medicine, but otherwise the two remedies are quite great. As long as the two doesn't clash, that's what's
Yes.
important. And people feel like alternative medicine, they have more control over what's actually, happening to their bodies. I wouldn't say that there's no side effects. There are certain side effects in high dosages of certain medications, natural medications that is. But naturally, it's just better to take. And plants is better than that's a topic on its own.
Yeah, definitely is. And how do you balance clinical medicine with homeopathic and herbal remedies in your treatments?
So in iridology, iridologists believe that we should understand what other practitioners suggested or how they treated their patients. So practically, for example, if you come in and you'd say that your GP has given you Ascoril, which is for
Mm.
cholesterol, right? I would say, okay, Judy, so you have two options. You can either continue using the Ascoril for the rest of your life to balance it out the of the fatty things that's in your arteries and your veins, or you can start changing up your diet. You can start incorporating certain foods, certain herbal tinctures. Usually it's the foods. I try to lay off the herbal tinctures, especially if it's chronic
Mm.
medication. But certain foods, how are we going to change that up? How are we going to work on your fitness regime so that your cholesterol can come down, right? Then afterwards, you go back to your GP and your GP will be like, wow, your cholesterol actually did go down after doing the blood test, that is. What was it? Was it only the medication? Was it the nutrition? Was it the exercise? I wish that there's a time where I think it's happening now though. I think there's a time where clinical doctors or clinical med doctors, so to say, and natural med doctors would just come together and work with each other because that is iridology. We work with both. We don't shun the one down. So if you come and you tell me your doctor gave you Ascoril, I'm not going to say, why are you taking the Ascoril? There's side
Mm.
effects to that. You can get palpitations. Your muscles are going to start feeling all tight, for example. You're going to start having fertility issues, whatever the case may be. I'm not going to shun you down for that. But what I am going to tell you is, how can I work with your doctor to get the final result, which is off that Ascoril, which is off the medication? So that is how I try to balance the two. I will never shun clinical med. I will never do it because it works. It saves lives, but it's a temporary thing that needs to be done. If it does take longer, very well, but we try to heal what's happening underneath. I have a doctor that's like that. She asked me, do you want to do this? Do you want to continue with the meds? Do you want to naturally treat yourself? Because she knows what I do. So she obviously respects what I
Yes.
do. So I told her, let's work together. And she was like, go for it. And I'm telling you, that's a doctor that you want to see. That's the doctor you want to see. A doctor that understands what you truly as a patient.
Enjoying this episode? Ever thought of starting your own podcast? Podup.com is your go-to. They've got everything you need to run a pro show, including 35 or more AI-powered tools for success. Sign up today for a free starter account and get 15% off with the code HealthETalks15. The code is HealthETalks15. Plus, check out podallies.com for a done-for-you podcasting experience, complete with website, social media, and editing. Start now and let's launch your podcast together.
What? Yeah.
No, definitely. And could you share a success story from a client who benefited from your holistic approach to health and wellness?
Yeah, I don't. First and foremost, you can go on my Instagram. There is a few highlights actually, of success stories with a lot of patients and clients. But the one that makes me smile the most is, besides the people that have thyroiditis, so the little gland, the butterfly gland that's over here, besides those ones, it's the ones that have infertility issues. They would come
Mm.
in and they would say, so whatever the presenting problem. And then I would get emails or WhatsApp messages because I'm very close with my patients. They know that they can email me or WhatsApp me during assigned times. I'm there for them. Once you see
Yes.
me, It's almost like I'm part of your life forever. It's not a love and you're with me with them. We are going to give results no matter what. Anyway, so they would come in and they would tell me, oh, my cycle is regular, or I'm pregnant, because usually that is what a lot of women that have infertility. That's ideally something, yeah, okay. I wouldn't say it's all they want, what they want, but most of the time it definitely is. And it made me smile. There was one case where this one lady told me she blames me for falling pregnant. Because you shouldn't have done my plan. You shouldn't have gone to my plan, take the herbal tinctures, whatever case that I've done or recommended. So, at the end of the day, Judy, it's very nice to know that these things work and that people can remain consistent on it, because it's not always easy. Coming back to the word sustainable that you mentioned earlier on, in iridology, it's very important, in what I do, it's very important for me to understand my patient, where they come from, what they do. You can't expect a parent that has 5 kids to be making, it's working from Monday to Sunday, to be cooking wholesome meals from the morning till the evening. You cannot expect that from someone. They're going to look at my plan and be like, they're not going to do this. So I look at the person's lifestyle, their dislikes, their likes, their needs, their wants, their goals, and I incorporate it into the plan. So the plan is literally a holistic plan. No matter what they're going through, they are able to do it. So there's actually, with me, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. But the fertility is definitely the one that gets me smiling. I mean, I love babies.
Yes,
I
who
want another
doesn't?
one. Yeah, but that's the fertility one.
And what are some of the key factors that you consider when developing nutritional plans for clients? Like you said, you've had infertility, diabetic, high blood pressure. What are some of the key factors that you look at?
So, like I said before, when a patient comes in, the first thing I'll need to do with them is a medical case history. What is the medical background like? What are certain things that are in their family? Cancer, whatever the case may be, fertility, whatever the case may be, blood pressure. So that's number one. Then I look at them as an individual. How are they? What is their personality type? Are they strong? Are they weak? Are they able to follow through with something that I'm going to give them? What is my approach with them? Am I going to be harsh? Am I going to be gentle? There's not one person that I've seen that I've not, I would say, break or I've not gotten through to. It's really a matter of adjusting to your patient, understanding them. So understanding your patient is definitely a key factor. Understanding their lifestyle, where they come from. You don't want to be too nosy. You don't want to. Some of them I can see like taking it back, like, why are you asking me such a question? But they can just. I try to encourage them to be a bit comfortable with me, because I can get more information out from them. So it's really just getting the information out of your patient, understanding their lifestyle, understanding their medical history as well, and what are their goals.
Yes.
And sometimes I would actually dispute some of them. Like some of them would actually say, and maybe I'm kind of wrong to do that, because at the end of the day, a patient would come in, a client would come in, and that's what they're paying for. They're paying for your service. But their health, their well-being is of my concern, and that is why they get results. Because it's not just, oh, I'm coming in, I need your service. I genuinely want to help them. So one of the main things that people would come in, especially women, would need to lose weight. For what? Why do you want to lose weight? Do you want to lose weight for aesthetics? Are you losing weight because you want to be healthy? Understand, tell me what is it that you want. Because if it's just for an appearance, for aesthetics, then what is something else going on with you there? Are you feeling, if the self-esteem is a bit low there? Why is the self-esteem a bit low? Is it because you are experiencing certain things behind the scenes that is affecting you, making you feel that way? And with low self-esteem comes anxiety. With low self-esteem comes confidence issues. With low self-esteem sometimes comes palpitations that a person is experiencing on a daily basis that they don't speak about. So, there's a lot of things that I look at when patients come in. I can speak a whole hour about that, which I'm not going to do.
Can see you're very passionate about it, which is great. It's great to see someone with so much passion in their work field, especially when it comes to health and wellness. And what's next for you, Waseemah? What's next on the card? I know that you said that you're a new product you're launching.
Yeah, so actually in the year of COVID, that's when Insurance was actually born. I was born that year. I started making protein balls because I was lacking, or I was looking for snacks at least that are
Mm.
very nutrient dense, right? And the whole the dates are like given. You know, obviously if you're diabetic, you need to be careful with the dates. But anyway, so I started creating protein balls. And I promise you, I'll stash them with nuts and seeds and all the superfoods you can possibly think of. And I started eating that during my training, whatever the case may be. And I started showing on social media. And then I actually started selling protein balls and natural multivitamins that, you know, had
Mm.
vitamin C drops, had turmeric in. So, you know, kids would take it, adults would take it. It was going bonkers. And then I felt pregnant in
Yeah.
2021, so everything stopped. And I specialized as well. So I stopped in that year. So that is actually starting again. Yeah, so that's actually starting again. And then, funny enough, I actually also started with the castor oil and tissue creams.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's also new. So that's the protein ball. So whoever's listening, it's coming again, people. It's coming again. Hopefully, they can benefit you as well. Yeah,
No,
that's
that's
it.
great. That's great.
And
Well,
that's
Waseemah,
okay.
now I will try them as well. But thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with us. I love your passion. Like I said, I love the passion, and I've also learned something new about alternative medicine. And I think a lot of people who are listening to this are also hoping to have a different mindset as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's, you know, just a matter of being open-minded. You don't have to always practice, you know, alternative medicine or go for it, but
Mm,
understand that there are other remedies out there. One thing I'd like to say, Julie, is that people have this misconception that also that, you know, natural medicine, it doesn't work. It does work. It just
mm,
takes a little bit longer. There's a lot of things to consider, factors to consider with that. It does work. For some, it works almost immediately. For some, it takes a little bit longer.
mm.
But it's a beautiful way of nourishing your body, lessening toxicity, and actually curing. Just be patient. It does take longer. Nowadays, we work. We cannot be out of work for a week. You know,
Yes,
that's
no.
why we have to do it. You know, we have to go on the antibiotic. We have to go on this. But for example, the antibiotic, eat certain foods like kimchi. You know, eat certain foods that is high in probiotic or take a
Mm,
probiotic. Now, GPs don't tell us those things. They don't tell us that with the antibiotic comes a probiotic. Those it's such things to consider. But
yes,
it's beautiful, beautiful way of looking after yourself. Yeah,
no, it definitely is. Well, Waseemah, thank you so much. I really enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed our sitting with us on the Healthy Talks,
well, it was
and
lovely. Thank you.
loved it. And for the rest of our listeners out there, remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode of Healthy Talks.
Thank you. Bye.